Oh, hello. Welcome in. Welcome. Got some people joining in. Just starting at lunchtime here. I'm Sonali, so I have some people here who will be helping me out with the questions. So for anyone here, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into chat, or we have the Q&A dialogue. I think you can ask questions in as well.
Hi there.
Hello,
So
Alex.
how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. So I'm hoping I want to send out an email, and I would like to be able to include a button in the email pointing back to decisions. Like so, and I'm wondering, is that possible to do with the HTML merge editor?
The most common way I've used, and anyone else in the panel could also chime in here, and the most common way I've used buttons is using either on an email template. So on that actual email step in these settings, let me see if I can open one up in the flow and actually show you. You can add a template that has HTML, and you can include a button there, or if the email that you're sending is from an assignment. So let me just create a.
Sin, you're not sharing your screen if you meant to be sharing your screen.
I am. Thank you. Just getting it open. Just want the email step. So if you're on the email step and you scroll down to the settings section here, you'll be able to choose an email template that you put in, and you can use HTML to create that template. And the way to add it.
Okay, so I'm familiar with how to do that. I was just wondering whether or not it's possible to do it just right within the like, for example, the body. One of the available options is merge HTML text, and so I was wondering if it's possible to do it inside there.
You're here.
Yeah. So if you look at the body,
I've not seen that before.
You can change the constant thing there to you know, well, not for that guy, but for the body of the email. You know, there's a merge HTML editor, and I'm wondering if you're actually able. So one of the difficulties that I'm having is that I've created an integration link to my decisions portal, and I'm using an email template. And when I put the link in there, when it kind of comes out the other end, something is having difficulty treating the ampersand page name attribute of the link, and so basically it gets kind of cut off. Because like my understanding, I'm not sure where the issue is coming, but I basically took the default template that you guys send out when you install decisions, and made modifications to that. And in there, I basically I'm trying to paste my my link with at page name equals blah blah blah, and Chrome equals off and all that sort of stuff. But when it actually comes out the other end, it's getting garbled.
So I think there's and I can kind of take this one, but there's two ways you can go about approaching it. The easiest way is likely using a step. I think it's called create link. Maybe Sin, you could search for link here in this the toolbox. Yep, create link. So what you could do is just before the send email step, provide the URL and the text that you want to display instead of the link. And decisions will kind of handle that for you. You don't have to write any HTML for that, and you can basically just pass the output of this step and use it within the HTML merge on the send email step. So that's probably the easiest way you can do it. You could also, if you wanted to add some, if you did want to display it as a button, actually make it look like a button rather than a link, you could use the end velocity step. And the end velocity step allows you to write some HTML if that's more of your preference, and you can basically create a link here, pass in the URL, and then use the merge string as your as your button or link instead in the body of the email.
Okay, cool. So I imagine, are you going to be, is this recording going to be available at some point?
Yes, I believe we do actually post these somewhere. Sabrina, maybe you'd be able to answer that a little bit better. But I believe these recordings are available or even sent out via email.
I thought Will said that we were going to start uploading these lunch and learns to YouTube.
Yes, and actually that is just up. I've been working on that recently. So today after the call, I'm going to go ahead and email everybody who's on the call that YouTube link. And then this following Monday, we're going to go ahead and just send a mass email out. But they are being uploaded as of now.
Okay, cool, great. Thanks.
Alex, I saw you back in the panelist side. Did you have another question?
I didn't, but I can certainly come up with one.
Definitely.
So from a like kind of an architectural point of view, how do you guys handle security trimming for like for flows? So let's imagine that I have 20 flows that I would like to be able to represent to my user community, but different flows are available to different peoples. Like, what kind of like recommendation would you have for that?
Could you explain a little bit more?
Well, like I basically want to create 20 different flows for within the company that I'm working for. And each flow has a different kind of target audience, but I would kind of like to be able to represent some kind of widget in which when you logged in, the widget would show you the flows that you have available to you, like in, I suppose, possibly as a series of, buttons. So, I mean, but only the buttons that you have available to you.
So this widget you're talking about, do you want that to be more like a dashboard, or you want that to be like on the student's level? Because we have our workflow catalog.
I would I'd like it to be on my dashboard kind of thing. So when the user logs in, they basically, there's a variety of information associated with their, current assignments and their current requests, but also, something that would kind of allow them to basically see the kind of tasks that they're able to perform.
Yeah, a lot of times from what I've seen customers do, they have like multiple dashboards for their separate audiences. And what they do is they use like permission rules to sort of hide, the other dashboards away from the users. So if you're part of, let's say, group A, then your group will only have access to like the dashboard for group A. And, likewise for all the other groups.
Okay, so you're saying like there's kind of like a dashboard for people in the purchasing department, and these are the tasks that they have available to them.
Right.
And, okay.
Exactly. They'll just build a dashboard for the purchasing department or for their sales department. And what they'll do is they'll just give that sales department access only to that dashboard. And then they'll just put those flows as far as like maybe run flow buttons or sort of run flow links or run flow parts on that dashboard. And then they only have those, they only have access to those flows from that dashboard. That does that help like answer your question?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And anyone else, Chris, Jimmy, Josh, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. We have this whole hour, so feel free if anything pretty much is on the table.
Now, just curious, Alex, do you guys utilize the workflow catalog?
Not currently. So that's that thing up on the top left-hand side of the kind of user portal.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't looked into that, but I'm interested to hear what how this would be. Like, so basically each user, when they log in, they would basically see the flows that they have permissions to use, kind of thing.
Right. So, you can actually create your own categories with the workflow catalog. And this could make it easy to, manage the permissions on each one. So, basically you could create a new category. If I maybe slip to this tab, I don't know if you can see my decisions portal.
I can, yep.
Yeah, so, we use decisions, for some of our internal processes. So you'll see, for us, and when I log in, I have permissions to kind of see these categories and these certain flows. So you could approach it that way, where you create a category, for, I forgot your example there, but let's say, a department, and all of the dashboards, because dashboards and also workflows can actually be links to in the workflow catalog. So not only would it be actions to maybe create a new purchase request, but also go see purchase request itself and be able to work the tasks from there. So then you could create a category here. You would just click create folder on the workflow catalog. I could say I'll call this for Alex. And then basically, tie the different workflows and dashboards at this level.
Okay. Okay, so I can certainly do some research into how this kind of thing works. I mean, because the first thing off the top of my head that I see is there seems to be a disconnect between what I'm looking at right now and the widget that you saw at the top where it says IT and HR,
right,
and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, that was a different environment. So here, if I have for Alex, yeah, let me do this, let me add a new workflow catalog item. I'll just click, maybe select a random flow here. And I apologize, my internet's not that great today. So maybe for Alex, says test.
Okay, I can see how this, kind of fits together. One of the things that I'm kind of curious about is, so can you get this widget on the left-hand side there kind of buttoned down to the point where they basically only see the workflow catalog that is accessible to them?
At some point we had the ability to do that. Let me just click a random one. My goodness, my internet's quite slow, but let me go back here. There might still be a way where you can actually expose kind of this type of view. And we had this available at some point. So I think actually you can say user portal visibility show and show this page kind of as a dashboard instead of just the workflow catalog.
Okay.
So there is that ability. Maybe that would be more helpful instead.
Gotcha. Okay, so there seems to be lots of food for thought here. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'll stop sharing.
It looks like Chris raised his hand. You have a question. If you want to go over that.
Well, since you brought up the workflow catalog, one of the things that so we use the workflow catalog and quite a bit. And one of the things that I find myself looking at is when you have the workflow catalog as sort of like the usual way that users find their dashboards, I kind of think then that you want to hide the folders. Is that a common practice, or do you have, for example, clients who maybe they don't use the workflow catalog and instead navigate the folders and show those folders in the portal? It seems to me that they don't really mix so well together. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, completely understand. I think you have a good point there. Is maybe selecting one makes more sense, or making sure that whatever you have in the workflow catalog is workflows only, and then your folders are where your dashboards are at. That totally makes sense, and I think it depends from client to client. Brian, you could talk about some of your implementations and what you've seen is the most common. But certainly I tend to agree with that. Make a choice. Don't make it confusing. And if it's just workflows that you want to do, you can rename the workflow catalog, right? It doesn't have to say workflow catalog. It could say, you know, my activities or something like that, a little bit more generic, so that encompasses both.
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I mean, I guess the thing that I regret most actually about how we started is that users get to, our workflow catalog is mostly access to dashboards is what we have going on there. We have one flow that is actually in the, oddly enough, it's only one flow in the workflow catalog, which seems kind of ironic. So what we're doing is we're hiding the folders from the portal so that you don't have this confusing, I have the same thing 2 places, right? But then the consequence of that is I can't offer a way to browse to the dashboard is something that I spent a lot of time trying to research. And that's my conclusion, is that in hindsight, if I could go back to the start of this effort, I would have said, you know what, maybe steer away from the workflow catalog, maybe have all your dashboards, like you say, in folders, and have folders be shown in the portal, because then I can actually have a link that will go to that portal. Whereas when I'm doing it through the workflow catalog, I really can't, because I'm hiding the folder.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think oftentimes that's how people tend to implement it is, workflow catalog items are workflows, and dashboards still exist in the folders.
Yeah, I think, what's important is to think about how you want your users to sort of access flows. Like maybe I would say workflow catalog might be more useful for, universal flows that everyone on the team is going to be making use of, and then, using a dashboard for specific groups would probably be a better, would be a good way of handling that. Does that help, Chris?
Sure. So you kind of confirm the conclusion I arrived at too, that dashboards naturally live as a folder in the portal as opposed to something I put in the workflow catalog.
Right. I think
maybe
Jimmy,
a completely different topic.
Yeah, I think I see Jimmy. Is there a way to set specific reports as a default to specific folders? I think that is the page report option. Jimmy, if you want to, you can go off mute if I'm understanding right. You just want to say I have folder A and I want to put my like report A on folder A, correct?
Yeah, like I just click on a folder and it's going to the default report. And I always have to go to the little cogwheel and hit change to select my favorite.
Gotcha. I believe that is the use case for page report. I know that it's possible, and I think I'm 80 to 90% sure it's adding a page report. So let me see if I can pull up my local real quick. Sorry, I have to start it back up.
Yeah, that worked. Awesome.
Okay, cool. That's why I'm just showing off. Yeah, but yeah, that's what we use for that. Does anyone else have any questions right now? I see Rob just joined. Hey, Rob, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, or Chris, any suggestions for building an HTML table of data for an email? Hey, Chris, you want to, I think you're off mute. You want to go ahead and explain a little bit more?
Well, I mean, the issue so one of the things that I see happening is that we'll basically do a plain text merge to basically build out what I'll call a table row. So we're iterating through a list, and we're building a table row per entity.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just using a plain text merge to build the entities. Now, the hazard of that is that some of those plain text fields may, for example, have a semicolon or an angle bracket or something that is disruptive in HTML. And so I kind of find myself thinking there's got to be, that's something we have to address. But then I also wonder what's the most graceful way to, for example, build out then these table rows so that I can put together what's going to be an email message with a table in it, and also escape my, basically encode the any of the things that may be, for example, lurking in a name or in a description or something.
Chris, what you're describing, I've actually done on another project with a customer, and we were able to build the rows for those tables, except for we use the HTML merge, plain text merge, or not the plain text merge, but the HTML merge. And we were able to achieve that. And so I have not encountered the issue with for example, what you're saying with the tags, but I would be happy to see if I can get back to you on that, unless anybody else has any specific information on that.
Yeah, we actually have a project for that in our projects page on the documentation page, using the merge and velocity step to actually create the data. What I can do, let me just post this on your question here. It's going to put this on the question here. Here's a link to our example projects, and essentially this is an example that can create a merge HTML table that you can send that to an email stuff.
So you actually use a pair of these end velocity merges.
Exactly.
Does the end velocity, does it assume that the output is supposed to be HTML text so that it should escape the inbound strings that it gets for parameters?
I believe so. I don't know 100% sure on that question, but I believe it should. Or I think it just.
You can kind of see where I'm going with that, right? It's I know that, a lot of these fields, what's in there is, for example, constant. If it's the state of the entity, well, I know what those states are. But for some things, if the user types it in, there's nothing to stop them from adding a semicolon or putting an angle bracket in there. And then if I try to do something like this to generate, an email of this sort, that means, I need to encode some of those things.
Let me double check that. don't see anything on the document discussing that. So honestly, I don't know if it is smart enough to know that or not. Can you write that question down, and can we get a support ticket in for that so we can look further into this, just to confirm that for you? Because I honestly don't know if it, from what I'm seeing from the documentation, we might have to ask the devs on this one on how that stuff works.
Personally, I think it'd be easy to just try it myself and examine the output.
I mean, that works as well. You can always give that a shot, and feel free to let us know if that works for you.
I mean, like I say, I was just kind of fishing for ideas there.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, that's typically what we would recommend for building like an HTML table, just using the end velocity merge step.
And so the one that's within the loop is actually building table row items.
Right. One of them should be building like the columns, and one of them should be actually building the items there.
And the output of that is being appended in some fashion.
I believe it's being appended. I'm not too familiar with this.
Or is this kind of thing where the output from the end velocity actually gets put right back into it on the next trip through the loop?
I believe so. I'm not.
I think I want to say it's appended. In the end velocity step, typically you have to indicate if you're adding it onto a specific thing. So you would basically put a variable or parameter for the previous, pass that in, and then write the rest of your HTML after the variable.
Okay.
So Jimmy, I see you have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
Yeah. So I'm working with the case entity, and on my initial flow, when you initially show the form, I'm making it an assignment so that I can get a snapshot, which I think you're working on a case with me on those snapshots not showing the data. But so in the assignment on the completed form, I've got it doing the show form result view. Mm-hmm. But after that, after they submit the form and it's completing that assignment, it's putting that view on the last state, not the first. Is there a way that I can tell it where that I want that state from the initial submission to go? Because I've even changed, I created an end step or end state and then moved it to the first on the runtime case view. Mm-hmm. And it's always putting it, no matter what state it is, the very last one is where it's putting that completed form view.
That sounds.
What version are you on, Jimmy?
We're on 7.2, I believe.
Interesting. No, it should just, the assignment should be logged where the state it is that it occurred. So let's say, you kick off the trigger, but let's just say you kick off a state or a case and it goes into the started state and your assignment's in the started state. It should be logged at the started state.
Yeah, that's what I expected, but it's not. It's going to the very last state every time.
Yeah, that sounds like that may be.
Are you able to show your screen at all?
Sure.
I know I've been working in 7.2 and haven't seen that issue.
At least, so the attendees aren't allowed to share screen.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's interesting.
Can you, I know you said you have a support ticket looking at something else. Can you get a support ticket in with that and share your project with that so the team can take a look at that? Because that doesn't sound like standard behavior like Elisa's saying. So we want to take a look and see what's happening here.
Yep, will do.
Sabrina, did we have any emailed questions this time, or is it all just?
We did not. No pre-submitted. Nope.
Oh, sorry, Brandon. It's Darren that's got that ticket, not you.
Okay, Darren's got, okay. I can, is that for the case state or is that the view completed form?
Well, it's with the view completed, but we're having an issue where on our dev site, they're not, like, after a day or so after the info in that view just disappears. It's still there, but we just can't see it on the view completed form.
Gotcha, okay. Does anyone else have any other questions or? It looks like people are dropping, so yeah, it looks like people are dropping. Chris, Jimmy, any other questions? If not, we can go ahead and just end a little early today. And Sabrina, we're gonna have this recording on the YouTube channel, right?
Yes, as soon as it's ready, I'll get that uploaded. Make sure to list the questions in the description, and then I'll go ahead and email that link out.
All right, sounds good. Well, Jimmy, the last one here. So thanks again for showing up, and you guys have a great rest of your week. We will be back. I think it's Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.